Good day, everyone. I am Teacher Larry, and I'm your mathematics teacher for today. We are now on the second quarter, Module 6, in Mathematics 8, which all about conditional statement. And for our competence is, at the end of this lesson, you should, number 1, determine the relationship between hypothesis and the conclusion of an if-then statement, and number 2, transform a statement in an equivalent if-then statement. Now, if you will listen to me carefully, then you will understand this lesson easily. Now let's have our first activity. In this activity, you have to match the picture of the possible conclusion to a given condition. You may choose your answer below the screen. Okay, for number 1, if I stay in school, what could be the possible conclusion? Correct. Then I will get better education. Okay? Number 2. If I don't do my homework, what could be the possible conclusion? Okay, then I will get low grades. Next, if you are hungry, what would be your conclusion? Correct. Then you should eat. Next, if you say funny joke, what could be your conclusion? Correct. Then your friends will laugh. Next, if I flip on the switch, what could be your conclusion? Correct. Then the lights goes on. Next, if you commit a crime, what could be your conclusion? Of course, then you'll go to jail. Next, if I see gray clouds, what could be your conclusion? Correct. Then it might rain. And lastly, if I don't clean, what could be the possible conclusion? Correct. Then I don't get my allowance. Okay, job well done. What we have done in our previous activity are examples of conditional statements in the form of if-then statement. First, let's define what is conditional statement. If we say conditional statement, it gives us a condition to come up with a conclusion. A conditional statement is a compound statement of the form if P then Q. It can be read as P implies to Q, where P and Q are statements. If we go back to the definition of conditional statement, we say that it is a compound statement. This only means that we have two statements are combined statements. The first statements, P, which called as the hypothesis, and usually begins with the word if, or the if clause. While the second statements, Q, which usually begin with then, is called as conclusion or the then clause. So we can have a conditional statement as if hypothesis P, then conclusion Q. Please be reminded that the word if and then are not part of your hypothesis and conclusion. Let us define what is hypothesis and what is conclusion. Hypothesis defined as a tentative assumption made in order to draw out and test its logical or empirical consequences. This draws us to a condition, while conclusion is necessary consequences of one or more propositions take as premise. This means that from your hypothesis, you will draw your conclusion, possible result, or the reason based on the hypothesis. For easy familiarization of this concept, you can remember that if this happens, then that will happen. Now, let's try to transform conditional statement to if-then statement. Let's take this example. Parallel lines do not intersect. First, you have to identify for the subject and the predicate. When we say subject, it is what or whom the sentence is about, while the predicate, it is the clause that describes the subject. In our example, our subject is parallel line, while our predicate is do not intersect. Now, our subject is a part of your hypothesis, and the predicate is a part of your conclusion. So, the if-then statement is, if two lines is parallel line, then they do not intersect. For your second activity, transform the following conditional statement to if-then statement. Okay, for number 1, vertical angles are congruent. What is vertical angle stands for? Is that a subject or a predicate? Correct. That is a subject. Therefore, our predicate are congruent. Then, the if-then statement is, if two angles are vertical, then they are congruent. Okay? Number 2. Two planes intersect the line. What is intersect the line stands for? Is that a subject or a predicate? Correct. That is a predicate. Therefore, our subject is two planes. The if-then statement is, if two planes intersect, then their intersection is a line. Number 3. Perpendicular lines form 4 right angles. What is form 4 angles stands for? Is that a subject or a predicate? Correct. That is a predicate. Therefore, our subject is perpendicular lines. The if-then statement is, if two lines are perpendicular, then they form 4 right angles. For number 4, the measure of the obtuse angle is greater than 90 but less than 180 degrees. What does obtuse angle stands for? Is that a subject or a predicate? Correct. That is a subject. Therefore, our predicate is measures greater than 90 but less than 180. Therefore, our if-then statement is, if an angle is obtuse, then it measures greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. And lastly, the sum of two even numbers is even. So, what does two even numbers stands for? Is that a subject or a predicate? Correct. That is a subject. Therefore, our predicate is sum is even. The if-then statement is, if the two numbers are even, then their sum is even. So let's proceed to our third activity. So we have here Rube Goldberg, who was a cartoonist in 1940s, who drew crazy inventions to do very simple things. The invention shown has a series of smaller tasks that leads to the machine wiping the man's face with napkin. All you have to do is write a series of if-then statements that would caption the cartoon from A to M. And you have 1 minute to do the task. And your 1 minute starts now. Time is up. Okay, so these are the possible answers. If Rube moved his hand toward to his mouth, then the string would pull a spoon with the cracker. If the spoon pulled by the string, then the cracker will be tossed to the air. If the cracker will be tossed to the air, then the bird will fly. If the bird will flew, then the pail will be poured with water. If the pail will be poured with water, then the lighter will be light. If the lighter will be lit, then the rocket will fly. If the rocket will flew, then the string will be cut. If the string is cut, then the pendulum of the clock will swing. If the pendulum of the clock will swing, then the napkin will wipe the face of room. Do we have the same idea? If we do, that's excellent. Now, it's your turn. So given the conditional statement, determine the hypothesis and conclusion, and you have to write the if-then statement. How many correct answers did you get? If you get perfect score, then that's excellent. Otherwise, you can ask me. And that's the end of our lesson. Again, this had been your teacher in math. I'm Larry Buganin, saying the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. See you around.